Also see with us is Sinai Kasibante. Sinai,
Hello, Joel.
how are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you for joining early. We are going to start 5 minutes after the top of the hour. So let's give
Oh,
it two more minutes.
right.
I'm very excited today because we have amazing young people who have vast experiences in the field of looking for scholarships, but also living and working abroad. Specifically, we have Richard Mbayo. He's Ugandan from the eastern part of the country, but currently living in Shiwu in China. He's someone I really cherish. I met him personally. And secondly, we also have our sister from Lesotho. She's based in Maseru, the capital. That is Limfo. She has vast experience. You're going to get to know them deeper very soon. So you can hang around for the meantime as we wait for just a minute to begin. I'm going to be muting whoever is not talking. In case you'd like to talk, there is a hand icon just right below your screen at the bottom right corner. So you can raise that up and then you can mute and then speak. But otherwise, we will stay muted at all times unless we are speaking. Okay. Paul? Yeah, we have 1 minute to start. Paul, if you have something to tell us, please go ahead. We
Yes,
see your
I just want to say hello to everyone.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Hello to you too.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yes, Ivan. Would you like to
Yeah,
say?
I would just like to thank you for having prepared for us this wonderful session, which I've been yearning for a long time. Just eagerly waiting to experience a lot from here. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's exactly 5 minutes after 1 p.m. Uganda time. I guess we need to start our session. I don't think we all have to introduce ourselves. A few things that you need to know is that you can use the chat. There is what we call public chat where you can write, but you can also speak if you raise your hand up. The hand icon is on the bottom right corner of your screen. So those are just a few things you need to know. But in case you have any difficulties, please do let us know in the chat and we will be able to troubleshoot your issue. I know it's not very common for us to use the big blue button. Most people are used to Zoom, Teams, and other applications. But yeah, today we decided to try something new. So speaking is Joel Odota, and I am the country director of the kectil program here in Uganda, but at the same time, the chief operating officer of the kectil global program. For some of you who may not know the kectil program, is that we are a youth-led organization based in the US, and since 2016, we've been training young people, and so far we have reached to thousands of youth from more than 100 countries. We do our trainings virtually, so but also we have regional events. We have regional meetings that we hold in like regions, and we only work in the developing countries because we think young people in the developing countries have the potential to change how things are done in the developing countries space. Specifically, we train in leadership, entrepreneurship, environmental conservation, public health, gender, and also technology. So, for those of you who can access our website, it is www.kectil.com. You can see more about us, you can read more about us, and also um, in a few months, we are going to be opening our application window for the next cohort. This is a free training which is supported by the Malma Knowles Family Foundation based in the US. So in Uganda, we have a small country office which I lead and I manage. So we do tailor-made training here in Uganda. There is another country office in Kenya, and there's also one other in Zambia. So that's about me. Unless you have any questions about the Kectil program or specifically me, I would like us to proceed. Um, we decided to do this session because we've received so many questions about young people trying to get scholarships, but they really do not know where to start. Personally, I have spoken to a couple of people, given them advice, but we thought we could just make one session where so many people could join at the same time, and that could save us lots of time. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have because we have the experts here in the field. So let me just read for you the bios of the people we have in this panel today. I'm going to begin, like they say, ladies first. Yes. So we have an amazing young lady from Lesotho, and I got to meet her in 2019 at the Kectil conference in the US. I'm talking about Limfo Fokocho, who is based in Masero. I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation of her name. So she's doing so much around professional support, like she gives advice to young people. She has more than 7 years of experience in domestic and international admissions of students. So, and she has also worked with Education US as an advisor, helping young people in Lesotho to get education, undergraduate, master's, and even PhD in the United States on scholarships. And right now, as I speak, she has founded our own company called Abroad Studies Academy. You might want to check it out on YouTube. So, our company basically sends students abroad and helps students with applications, getting admissions, scholarships, but also for students who would like to settle in those countries. She helps them with how do they find jobs and stuff. So she's done so much and she's sent so many young people abroad on a good cause. You know, they're studying and they're contributing to global development. Specifically, she has experience doing this for students who would like to go to the United States, Canada, the UK, Italy, Germany, Sweden, and Norway. So she's going to talk more about that when the time comes. Limfo has also worked as an administrative assistant at the European Union delegation in Lesotho. So she has experience working on a high level with delegations, with missions of countries abroad. So she will tell us also more about that. But also currently she is the president for the Rotary Club of Masero, and she's managing that very, very well. She's the president. Currently, she's also working as an education operations manager at Kick for Life, which is a great initiative that has so far helped 17 scholars who are athletes to get enrolled uh, at higher institutions of learning and also acquire scholarships. So that's also one amazing thing that she does. So she's affiliated with the Kectil program because in 2018, she in 2017, sorry, she joined the Kecto program and she did so well. In 2018, she became a regional coordinator for the South African region, and until now, she's also doing that. And in 2019, July, she came to Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. to attend a youth leadership conference fully paid by the Malmanol Family Foundation. She's also one of the Young African Leaders Initiative alumni. Um, these are the regional center trainings. There is one based in South Africa. There's also another in Kenya, and there's one more, I think, in Ghana. So that is the yearly program. And right now, she's serving as a recruitment and selection coordinator for Lesotho, and she's doing that so well. So basically, from the bio, you can hear she's good with selecting people, applying and selecting people. So I guess we have the right person in the house. I can't really speak more, but she's going to come up and really tell you more. And on the other hand, we also have Richard Mbayo. Richard is Ugandan and currently is based in China, in one of the cities near Wuhan, near Shanghai. He went to Chambogo University where he did development studies, mostly focused on international development. That was in 2016. That's when he graduated. And then he went to Renmin University of China, where he did a master's that is focused on politics, I guess, and international relations. But also very interesting is that he's been accepted for a PhD in Northern Arizona University in the US. So he's supposed to start next month. All of these experiences have always been on scholarship. So he is a great fit for this kind of a session that we are having today. But also, you shouldn't forget that Mr. Mbayo is the founder and executive director of Kakutu Youth Development Organization, which is a community-based organization in Chibuku district of Eastern Uganda. So he's also not just an academic, but also giving back to the community by starting something where young people can contribute to community development. So that is it. And personally, my name is Joel Odota. I went to Makerere University. I graduated in 2015 with a Bachelor of Arts in Education. Then I went to China to do a 2-year master's focused on politics and international relations at China's top. I like to say China's top, Peking University. Peking University is among the top 20 universities globally. So, and I was also very happy to, get this scholarship and do this program. But also, I did the kectil 1 year training program while I was doing my master's. So I did two things at the same time, and I I also did exchange programs with two amazing universities. One is the European University Institute based in Florence, Italy, and the other is Stanford University, which is among the top 5 universities globally based in the US. So all of these were, scholarship. So we have people who have had, long stories getting scholarships and stuff, but we also have experts who are currently doing this in the education field. So thank you for taking the time to join this session. And without wasting time, I would like to right away welcome our sister from Lesotho who will speak, but also based on our experience supporting students getting scholarships and jobs and visas and stuff abroad. Could you, if you don't mind, just briefly come and talk about, study abroad, how students can get free education, but also how they can get scholarships, how they can secure admissions with universities, even when they don't have the best grades. And maybe finally, you can also talk about from studying, how do you transition into the job market abroad, citing very specific examples and also experiences of you doing this. And then afterwards, I'm going to welcome my brother who will give us also some really very important tips. And I'll come in just to talk about scams. Thank you and welcome, Limfo.
Hi everyone. Just before I start, I wanted to confirm that everyone can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know about the rest.
Okay, no, sounds cool. All right, just as you said, my name is actually Dimpo, so it's written Limfo, but it's pronounced Dimpo. So my name is Dimpo Pukuj, and I'm currently living in Lesotho, Maseru. And just as Joel had said, I have worked with students who want to study abroad, specifically working with Basotho students who wanted to study in the United States. So I worked as Education USA, where I was working with the US Embassy based in Lesotho. And currently, I started my own company because I realized that a lot more youth don't know about opportunities that are get towards finding scholarships abroad and the whole procedure of how to go about it. So that is why I started Abroad Studies Academy. We are available on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And our services are offering application advising. We help you with the application process from start till you leave for school. And our program guarantees full scholarships with the schools that we are affiliated with in the United States, UK, Canada, Italy, Germany, Norway, and Sweden. So we are working with 7 countries at the moment, and we have different students that we took in those countries in the past 2 years. And also at this point, I also work with an NGO here in the country where I help with the scholarship opportunities for students who are our student athletes. So they play soccer as well as go to school. And the NGO sponsors them with the high school studies. And then after high school, I help them secure scholarships to study abroad. And just last week, we took 2 students who just left to the US. The other student was going to Chicago, and the other one was going to Tennessee. So basically, that's my work. And then now moving on to what drawn me to this event. So when Joel reached out to me, I was really happy because I'm really passionate about helping youth realize their dreams and helping them craft their careers. So when he said, will you be able to do this? I was like, why not? So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to study abroad for free as an international student. And I know this is sort of a controversial topic because for most of the time, you will find that people don't believe this is actually true. Like you can study abroad for free on full scholarships. They believe that this is for certain people. And mostly people who maybe have like low GPA or not so good grades believe that that is a far-fetched opportunity, whereas that is not entirely true. So I'm going to sort of debunk that myth today. And hopefully my presentation won't be as long so that at least I give you guys information that will be, easily digestible, and so that it's easy for you to understand and unpack everything that I'm going to share. So at this point, I'm going to ask you, Joel, how long is my presentation?
I think if you can speak for between 15 and 20 minutes would be great, because we also would like to take some questions. I guess that is actually the more important bit of this. Some people may have questions for you and also your other colleague. So keep it as short as you can, and then we can have more time for interactions.
No problem. Okay. So the first thing I have here is, how do you study abroad for free as an international student? So there's a lot that goes on with this, but I'm going to try to be brief, but also giving you guys value so that after this session, at least you know how to go about applying to schools abroad and applying for scholarships. So if you want to apply for scholarships and admission abroad, you have to follow a set steps which will make your application process easy, right? So the first thing that I want you to do is to define your level of education. So you want to know what you want to study as. Do you want to study as an undergraduate student, meaning do you want to study towards your bachelor's education? Do you want to study towards your master's education? Do you want to study towards your PhD? So you have to define that. And also try to understand with different countries that translate to different years. For example, if you want to study in Italy for a bachelor's degree, that takes only 3 years. Whereas if you want to study for a bachelor's degree in the United States or in Canada, that will take you 4 years. And for you to be able to attain admission into the schools, they will need you to have at least 12 years of previous education. That means primary and high school education combined. And for master's students or the master's programs, it's usually around 2 years. Both either you are in Europe or in America or Canada. It's all 2 years, and they need you to have previous 15 years of education. And if you are going to study towards PhD, it's usually, the program usually takes 3 years, and they're going to need you to have a bachelor's degree. So that's basically how you go about defining your education and knowing the level that you'll be studying towards and what is required from you to be able to enroll as a bachelor student, master's and PhD and so on. So also when you apply, you want to be specific as to, let's say you are starting from a bachelor's level. You have graduated from high school, right? So this means that you'll be enrolling in a new career altogether. Whereas if you are studying towards a master's program, the application process is a bit different because they want you to clarify if you'll be taking a new major altogether or if you want to continue studying towards the same course you took on your bachelor's degree. And usually it's very easy to secure scholarships if you continue with the course you did on your bachelor's degree. Unlike if you divert into a new course altogether or a new major altogether, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a scholarship if you are changing courses. Don't quote me on that. The second thing, if you want to study abroad, that you need to follow is find the university. So obviously you are going to define this course that you want to do and the level that you'll be studying towards. Then obviously you're going to have to find the universities that you'll be studying with, or technically just one university, because even if you're going to apply to say 10 schools, eventually you're going to just study with one. So you need to find those universities, and the easiest way to go about it is just to go through Google and just type in the universities around this and this country or universities around this and this state. So let me make an example with the United States. There are so many universities in the US that offer scholarship and that are currently accepting international students. So I know it's a lot. To find a university within a lot more pool of universities. So the best way to go about it is to filter it by states. So you need to know which state you would be comfortable studying in, and then you can search schools within that state that offers scholarships to international students. And also, if you are very particular with which school that you want to study with, I usually advise that you go through the university rankings so that you know where your school ranks in the world. And usually the best sites that I would recommend for you to do that is the US University Rankings or topuniversities.com. So even if I just said you should go to the US University Rankings, that doesn't mean that the universities ranked on that website are only US universities. They rank universities across the world, but then the website is called the US University Rankings. So you want to check where your school ranks, especially in regards to the course that you want to do. I know Joel just mentioned that some of the schools that he went to and he did exchange programs with are the top universities in terms of rankings. So if you are particular about that, like you're very selective with the school that you want to study with, then I would recommend that you go through the university rankings. That is really important. And then the third thing that you need to do, so once you have secured the university or the school that you want to study with, or let's say 3 schools, then you apply. So the application process, this is what you will need. So to be able to apply, you're obviously going to have to fill in the application form. And usually with schools in Europe or in the US, they sometimes use third-party platforms for you to apply. So let me make an example with the United States and Canada. They usually in most cases, they use a third-party platform called Common Application or Coalition Application. So the good thing about those platforms is that they allow you to apply to multiple schools using just one application. And the same thing if you are targeting schools in Europe, they use what is called UCAS. It's the same thing. You apply to multiple schools using just one platform or just one application. Whereas you can still have an option to apply directly into the university's website. But that means that if you choose that option, then you're going to have to apply. Let's say you have 5 schools on your list. That means you're going to have to apply to 5 different schools using their different application forms. But you could also go for the first option that I mentioned, which is using the third-party platforms. So that is the first thing that you're going to do when you do the actual application. You apply for admission using the application form, usually found on the website. And then you also have to have a motivation letter or an SOP, or what is also called personal statement. So this is a letter, or this is sort of an essay that explains why you want to study with this school. It explains why you are the best candidate, that they should pick you and admit you in their school and potentially offer you scholarship. And also it explains why you want to study, this particular course that you want to do. So I know there's a lot that goes on with the SOP or motivation letter, and there's usually a way to write it that will gain you this admission into the school. And unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about that today, but feel free to ask me questions after this presentation so I can maybe try to explain how to go about the SOP, because it's an important component of the application process, and it's usually the main indicator of the school deciding to give you admission and the scholarship. So also you're going to have a CV or resume, and this is especially for students who are applying for a master's degree, because for the most part, students who are applying for a bachelor's degree, they are not really required this CV or resume, but it differs with different courses. For students who are in the arts departments, they would usually be required to submit a resume, CV, or portfolio. So it doesn't cut across all departments. And then you're going to also be required to submit a recommendation letter. So this is a requirement that cuts across all study levels, and mostly for bachelor's degrees, you're going to be required to have at least 2 recommendation letters, but this also does differ with schools. So some schools would say we want 3 recommendation letters, and majority of schools would say 2 is okay. And those 2 recommendation letters would have to come from your previous schools or from the previous organizations that you maybe volunteered with or worked with. And the last thing that you would have to submit, still on the recommendation letters, for people who are applying for masters, it's strictly three recommendations. Majority of schools stick to 3 recommendations, and they need that to be from previous schools that you attended, and they need that to be from your previous employer as well. So now moving on to the last thing that will be needed when you apply is the school certificates or your diplomas. So this, it's the documentation that certify that you did really study towards your high school and you have graduated from your high school, or you did study your bachelor's degree and you graduated from your bachelor's degree. So they want to see your transcripts together with the certificates, because this is where they would be able to calculate your GPA and be able to check if you will be eligible for their admission into their school. So that is that regarding the actual application that you need to follow. The steps that you need to follow when you apply for admission to schools abroad. So now talking on to scholarships. So there are different types of scholarships that you qualify for as an international student. And I'm going to list these types and also try to explain them within this time that I'm given. So the first scholarship type is what is called merit-based scholarship. So with merit-based scholarship, it's usually a scholarship that is given to you when you apply, And in most cases, it's automatically given to you. So that means that you don't have to submit an additional application. From the application that you send for admission, they evaluate your transcripts and they check the scholarship package that will be best suited for maybe the GPA that you have or your academic performance. So that is merit-based, and usually it doesn't cover much of the total cost of attendance in the university, and usually they are categorized as partial scholarships. And then we have need-based financial aid or need-based scholarships. So need-based scholarship, it's sort of self-explanatory. This scholarship is given to you based on your financial need. So when I apply with my students, this is the kind of scholarship that we target, because coming from a developing country, it's really hard to have additional funds to sustain yourself while maybe you're studying in the US or you're studying in UK. So having a need-based scholarship, which is also translated as full scholarship, is the way to go, because then you know that everything is being taken care of. So like I said, need-based is determined by your financial need as a student. So you have to show that I don't have funds to support my studies while studying with your school. So the school will be able to offer you the money that they believe will best serve you while studying with them. So the other type of scholarship is assistantship. So assistantships are usually given to graduate students, meaning students who are studying towards their master's degrees. Assistantships is financial support given to you as an international student, and there's a catch to this type of scholarship. The first two scholarships I mentioned, they don't expect you to do anything in return, and they don't expect you to pay anything in return. Whereas with assistantships, you are expected to work. So it's either you work an administrative job and then the school pays for your cost of attendance and everything else, and it also includes a stipend. And this could be working an administrative job or working a professional job. So working a professional job would mean that you'd be assisting your professor in a certain research, or you'd be assisting your professors with scheduling some classes and helping with teaching. And then we also have what you call athletic scholarships. So with athletic scholarships, the application procedure is a bit different, especially with schools in the United States, because you have to be evaluated by different organizations that govern the athletic part of the study in the US. So you're going to apply for admissions like any of the scholarships. And then once you have secured your admission, it's then that you apply for the athletic scholarship. So meaning that you are going to have to send in 2 applications, whereas with with merit-based, you just send in your application for admission and you're automatically given the scholarship. But with need-based, assistantship, and athletic scholarships, you're going to have to submit an additional application that will give you the scholarship that we'll be looking for. And the last scholarship on my list is the government-based scholarship. So with government-based, this essentially means that the government that you'll be studying in, let's say you're studying in the UK government will be sponsoring your studies in their country. Let's say you're studying in Canada or US. Canada or US will be sponsoring your studies or will be giving you financial assistance to study towards the course that you want to do in the country. So I hope that was descriptive enough. And still, like I did mention, if you guys have more questions, or if you have like questions regarding the scholarships I just shared and how you can go about applying for this, then I'll explain more during the Q&A session. So now the last part of my presentation is talking about how to secure, and that's not the last part, sorry. how to secure admission and scholarships with with a low GPA. So I did mention that majority of students would sort of back down from applying because they already judged that because I have low GPA, I won't be able to make it. So let me break this to you. Applying to schools abroad entails a holistic approach. That simply means that when you apply to schools abroad, the schools don't necessarily just look at your grades and say she or he is not a good fit for our school. What they usually do is they look at the full picture. They look at what you do outside of class. They look at some of the indicators that may have caused you to maybe have those low GPA or those low grades. And they look at your future goals, like what you want to achieve. And usually this will be translated in your personal statement or in your motivation letter, or what is also called as SOP. So students with low GPA or low grades can still secure admission into schools abroad and can still secure full scholarships. You just have to be smart about it. And this usually is translated or seen on your SOP. So you need to sell yourself on your SOP so that your grades don't have to affect you getting admission into the school. So that's all I can say regarding this point, that students with low GPA can still apply, and you have to also have like a supporting some of the supporting documents that will also strengthen your application. The likes of maybe acquiring the school to do an interview with you so that you can also state your case or explain yourself, so that also that's it's going to give to put you in a better situation compared to other students who just apply without maybe requesting an additional interview or maybe attending some school webinars to sort of gain more clarity on what is needed from you as a student to be part of that school. So that is how you would want to go about it. And lastly, now I'll be talking about how to convert from student visa to PR, or how to convert from your student visa into the work visa, or essentially into permanent residency, which is PR. So usually when you go to study abroad, let's say you're going to you're from Uganda and you want to go study in the United States, or you're from Lesotho or wherever you be, and you want to go study in the United States. So you're going to be studying there. If you're going to study as a bachelor's student holder or as a master's student, and you are going to be applying, or you're going to be going to school under school-specific scholarship and not government-based scholarship, then you're going to be on F1 visa. That's the student visa type that you'll be under. But if you're going to study there under a government-based scholarship, the likes of Fulbright scholarship, then you're going to be under J1 scholarship. Under J1 visa. So that's like a bit of distinction between the visa types that you'll be under, and like why you should be under J1 or why you should be under F1. This is usually because of the funding that you'll be getting to go study in that country. So let's say you're now on an F1 student, which use F1 visa, which usually will be given to you according to the length of your study. So if you are going to study for a bachelor's degree, usually you'll be given 5 years on your visa, on your student visa, because they allow you to have at least 1 year of work experience after graduation before you come back home. And because when securing that visa, you would have promised the US government that after completion of your studies, you'll be coming home. Otherwise, they won't give you the visa. So, and then let's say now you're in the United States, but you don't want to come back home, obviously because of maybe career options and certain opportunities that you see fit while in the US, and maybe you know that there won't be any like that back home. So for you to be able to convert your student visa into the work visa, which is usually the H-1B visa, is to simply secure a full-time job. So as a student, you are not allowed to work a full-time job in the US you're only supposed to work 20 hours per week, which is also classified as a temporary work, because you are under a student visa, not a work visa. But once you graduate and once you secure what is called OPT, because that is the length that is usually given to you, that additional year is for your OPT so that you gain some experience. So let's say instead of attaining an OPT, you attain an actual job, like a full-time job. That is the only way that you'll be able to convert from F1 to H1B visa. And unfortunately, with the United States, for you to be able to secure a PR or what is also called green card, you're going to have to stay in the United States for at least 10 years to be able to qualify for that. But for countries like Italy, Germany, Canada, and now recently the UK, you will be able to convert your student visa into PR, or what is also called as permanent residency, within 2 years. So after 2 years of staying in that country, let's say staying in Canada, including the years that you spent while studying, then you qualify for application to PR or application to permanent residency. So you are able to convert from student visa to work visa or permanent residency. So I hope that is clear enough. I know there's a lot of information that I could share regarding this points, but I don't want my presentation to be really long. So this is where I will have to cut my presentation, and hopefully what I shared resonates with you guys, and hopefully what I shared, you were able to jot down some points so that from this event, you are able to implement what was shared. And thank you guys again for having me.
Oh,
Joel?
thank you so much. This was really, really, really good. And I believe the youth who are listening have really enjoyed this session. So stay around for the Q&A because I'm sure there are so many questions right now in the minds of the listeners. So I will take my brother Richard, who is joining in from China. And specifically, I would like him to tell us his experience, leaving the country Uganda, and now he's going to do a PhD in the US. And how is it like for him, as a Black person also working and living and studying in China and now moving to another continent? So he has a presentation that he requested me to share. So I hope he's going to keep it short. So because I think the beauty of this is when we interact. So you can present in maybe 10 minutes and we can have a Q&A that should run I don't know, as long as people have questions. So Richard?
Joel. Yes, Joel. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Clear.
All right. Thank you, everyone. My name, I am Richard Mbayo. I come from Eastern Uganda. The district is called Chibuku. Yeah, I want to tell you that everything is possible. And I'm starting my conversation or our discussion with a quote from Nelson Mandela. Once he was quoted saying that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change this world. We shall move on slowly to our next slide. Yeah, basically, I will be just going through some of this process we go through to acquire what to get a scholarship. Then I will complete my discussion with my personal experience. Let me first go through the presentation. Then at the end of the presentation, I will share my experience with you. So basically, I outlined like 5 steps you need to know when you are searching for scholarship. The most important one is to know what you want to study. because if you know what you want, then it makes the process easier. It makes it very easier. Then where do you want to study from? Then which universities you have interest in? Then subscribe to receive weekly scholarships. Then the final step is to apply for those scholarships. So identify the major or the program you wish to study. Yeah, as I said, basically life makes more sense when you know what you want, and education is part of life. Therefore, knowing the program you want to study makes scholarship search easier. So for basically, I try to give an examples like based on arts, engineering, business, and other courses. So if you're an artist or you study politics or public policy, depending which program you want. If you're an engineer, you know what you want. So it helps our process become much easier. You know what you want to study. The program you want to study. It is very, very important when you embark on the journey for looking forward for a scholarship. Yeah, then I select which country do you want to study from. Yeah, for scholarship is searching for scholarships is a bit hectic, and you can simplify it by listing countries where you study, where you wish to study. For instance, basing on education.com, these are the top 10 destinations for where you can study from. However, there are some countries where I've not listed here, but you may have interest. For instance, yeah, Denmark is not here, Sweden is not. Joel,
Yeah, sorry, I have muted.
so can I go on?
Yes.
Yes, I said you select countries where you have yes you select countries where you have interest or where you wish to study from. Then after selecting those countries, you make a list. Maybe based, like for instance, if you want to study in UK, you select maybe top 10 countries based on the major you want to study. For instance, my interest is political science. I'm going to go to UK and to Google the best top universities in political science, select those universities, and I'll be clicking one by one and see if you have if the university you have the right qualification to apply for that university. That's basically that takes us to our next page, which is identifying the universities. Basically, when you are identifying universities, there are mainly three concepts I've selected here. The university ranking. This must be global, like let me say University of Oxford. It's highly ranked globally, maybe among the top 10. National, I think UK is either number one or number two. Then the program, for instance, I'm talking about political science. How is it ranked? It's also a very good point when you are selecting, identifying the university you wish to study in the future. Besides that, you have to look at the funding, which opportunities are available at the university. So maybe you want to study political science at Oxford. Yes, are they have funding? Are there some scholarship opportunities? If there is no scholarship and you cannot afford private sponsorship, please don't waste time. Don't waste time, because most of this information is always on their website. Then another key concept is admission requirements. While identifying universities where you wish to pursue your program, however, you have to also take into considerations where some of the admission requirements like admission fee, GRA, or English certificates. Some universities, especially in UK and US, they require if for instance our colleagues from non-English speaking countries like like French colonies like in West Africa, you have to sit for English. You have to sit for that test. Or if you are doing some courses like in business administration, that's business administration, and sometimes public administration as well. You need to sit for GRA. So if the university have some such kind of condition, I would maybe if you are not willing to invest, like to sit, because sitting for this English test is around $180 to $200, and even GRA. So if you already like, and application fees is ranging maybe $80 depending on the university to 100. So it would be better for you to select a university which offers free, which waive application fee, which a university which does not require GR or English certificate. And the most important is that they have funding, unless you are willing to fund yourself. But here we are looking about scholarship, which means you have only to look at the universities which offer such kind of opportunities. And most importantly, these scholarship opportunities are based at the departmental level. For instance, if you are talking about maybe civil engineering, every department or every program, they have a special website. Besides the main university website, there's a special website about that program. So when you read about that program, you'll find more details about the funding, number of students admitted every year. That is you to assess either you go ahead with applying to that university or you continue with the process looking for another university. So then after going through, like after knowing what you want to study, that's the program, then in which country you want to study, then you look at you identify the universities. Another important step is to subscribe for these emails. I personally I can also share my experience. I received emails that enabled me to receive full funded scholarship for my master's degree. As our colleague Joel introduced to me, I got my scholarship in 2019 to pursue my master's. It was fully funded, everything apart from my ticket come to China, but everything was funded, accommodation and monthly stipend plus tuition. So this information is always there. And young people, I need to encourage you, my fellow youth. Yes, social media is good and let us invest time and meet Google. Let us create time for Google. All this information, everything you need, you can find it here. So one of the leading sites where we can register and be receiving email is a scholarship position. If you search for this website or this name on Google, it will bring and to ask you to register. Put in your name. Just sometimes they ask for a mobile number, but it's option. But then you put your email. It's very important so that, like for the scholarship website, they send scholarships based on your interest. For instance, if you are looking for masters, there'll be an option to tick masters scholarship, or for PhD, they have option to tick for masters, which means you'll be able to receive weekly not miss emails for especially for number one scholarship positions. Like on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they keep sending you emails. So you don't need like to look for Google and search scholarships. As long as you have activated for these top 5 websites I've selected here, you'll be able to keep receiving emails. This After School Africa, it is based in Nigeria, but it's also one of the best sites where you can be receiving scholarship emails every week, every day. Some are weekly, others are daily. So you need just like to create time and be checking your email. Then in Advanced Africa, I think it is based in Kenya, but they have also opportunities for them. I think they send once in a week. So at the end of the day, your main duty is just keep opening email and read those emails based on your interest. Then opportunities corner. It's also one of the sources where you can receive newsletters about scholarship. Then Scholars Hub Africa. I think it's also based in Nigeria, but all these all these all these websites I've shared, they have a lot of scholarship information that is very, very important for you guys. So then the last part of the most important part after identifying what you want to study, where you want to study from, and you have identified the school, this is the most important part. Apply, apply, and apply. The reason why I say it is really for you to increase the opportunities of receiving a scholarship, you need to apply to more than 10 universities. For instance, let me give you a current example. I personally, this year, I applied to 16 universities, 16 universities had me right. 16 universities. Out of 16 universities, I received 6 admissions. 2 admissions for PhD. One is at Northern Arizona, where I'll be joining this late month, this month, for my PhD in political science and government. Then another university is in New Zealand. It's all for political science. Then the rest was for masters, and there was no funding. So out of 16 universities, I got only 6 admissions, and out of those six, they giving me funding between US and New Zealand. So I decided to go to I decided to go with the university in the US based on my personal interest. So for you guys, you need to apply and apply and apply, and these are the most important requirements for every application. Some universities, they call it letter of motivation, study plan, or statement of the purpose, depending on the university. But basically on motivation, letter of motivation, there are around 5 more key points you have to highlight. You talk about your previous education. For instance, if you did a bachelor's in engineering, you have to talk more about that background and why do you wish to continue, or you're changing career, or you're changing a program for different course. You talk about your future plans, and especially upon your graduation, how will you use this knowledge to contribute to community development. Basically, it's all about development or causing an impact in the society. And it is at the end of the day, the scholarship committee, basically they depend on 3 things select select for you, or to receive a scholarship. There are mainly 3. The most important is the letter of motivation, which means where you highlight about your future plans, your intentions. Then talk about academic excellence. And if for PhD, mostly recommendation letters also play a key important role. But for masters, they may look at your personal statement, which is a study plan or letter of motivation, then academic excellence, and your contribution to the development, like to the community. What have you been doing? Right now, yeah, it's good like to do some kind of volunteering. It's very, very important for you to receive a scholarship. It's not a requirement, but it's an added advantage. Like be engaged in community activities. I can call it humanitarian assistance, anything offering support to the community. So besides that, we can go on with a resume, which is your CV. Basically, it must be precise, maybe 2 to 3 pages, but with some kind of a reasonable CV. You have internet. Go to internet and read more about CVs, and you can develop a very nice CV. Then academic certificate, which is mainly a transcript. For those who are joining for masters, for masters don't require for your high school, for your bachelor's and high school. Then for those who are just going for bachelor's, they need your high school only. Then for those for PhD, you need to submit your bachelor's and master's certificate if you have. But for some universities, they still can admit you when you don't have master's, depending on your experience or other factors the university may determine. Then recommendation letters for the US universities, mainly there are 3. So maybe 2 from academic, that from your previous university, and 1 from your employer, the company you are working with, or NGO you have been working with, or currently you are serving with. Then the application fee. Some universities, they require you to pay application fee. But especially for US, if you're applying between September, the coming months, some university will open applications. Like starting from September to December, there's no application fee. So when you apply between that period, you be waived the application, or you can write an email to the head of the department or the program coordinator. For instance, you're applying for engineering, you can email the program coordinator requesting for application. They can do that. I'm very sure, and I've been going through the same procedure. However, for Canada, there are some countries like Uganda. I'm Uganda. There are some like University of British Columbia. Automatically, will be waived. You don't need to pay application fee if you are coming from these low developing countries. you can list them. So right now, since most of our audience are from Uganda, if you're applying for Canada, some universities they waive application fee. However, you can still write and send an email to the university requesting to waive your application fee. Then in the proof of English proficiency or GRE, some universities they require those documents, especially English, especially if it's US, UK, Canada, you need to submit. But depending on what, depending on your depending on your background, where you started from. As in, if you are from English-speaking countries, most likely you have higher chances of being what waived for this English. Mostly, what I've been doing, I personally, is that I always get a letter from my previous school, like at Chambogo. I'm a graduate of Chambogo. I just contact the head of department and say, please, I need a letter to prove that my program was taught in English. As long as they read that letter, they stamp it, the university will listen to you, and there is no need for you to submit what the English letter. So that comes to the end of my presentation. I've decided to end this slide with one quote. This is my personal quote. Internet is the best relative you have in this world that can help you to achieve all your academic and professional dreams. First, this comment is based on my personal experience. As I told you guys, I got a scholarship to study my master's in China from internet. Automatically, internet. I have no connections in government that someone recommended me. No, I just received the emails as I told you to subscribe. I kept applying and I kept applying and until I received one in 2019. Then even this year I told you that I applied to 16 universities. Out of 16, I was admitted to 6. Then I narrowed it to 2. Then I decided to select one where I would be heading to do my PhD in political science. But what I can tell you, you need to pay more attention, right? Especially to invest more time for internet. Yeah, Facebook is there, Instagram, but if you are like if you know what you want, then the process is becoming more easier. You can't lose anything for you to create 1 hour every day, like 1 hour. It's good for you. You know what you want, and after just 1 hour, it can help you to change your life forever. So I'll sum up with with my presentation saying that if you have decided to go on with this take on this challenge, please create time for internet, and then the most important, be ready to receive always. We are sorry. Like for me, it has become part of life. We are sorry. We are sorry. Like always, yeah, sure you may not be selected, but it's okay. It is okay. You need to keep applying until your time has come. Thank you for listening. We are waiting for your questions.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Richard. And I think this is so encouraging. One thing that really caught my attention was when you said internet is a great relative that we have, but unfortunately, most of us do not use it well. And this is the moment for us to start using the internet well. I can tell you for sure, most young people do not invest so much in like looking for these kind of opportunities, even for jobs, you know, even when we have internet like 24/7. So this morning we like when we shared this poster, someone was like, I like this, but the problem is I do not have internet. Yeah. But they're also online. But really, it's kind of a session which is like it's not paid for. You could even get internet for just less than $1, and you could join this kind of conversation. So I think it's about the efforts that we make, and we need to stop making excuses that we don't have internet or we don't have electricity, because like from the conversations that we've had, we are competing with thousands, if not really millions of people for that one opportunity, right? So, and you're competing with people who have all of the money in the world, but they still want scholarships or they want admission. You're competing with people who never hear of electricity is off. So we just have to be on top of our game, right? So that's just the tiny bit I wanted to add. We need to stop the excuses and we need to get to work. So now we've gone 7 minutes into the hour, but I guess it's okay. We've now come to a very important part of the session, which is the Q&A. Basically, you have to raise up your hand and you ask your question. Be very specific because we don't have much time left. And our team will also respond to you immediately. If you have a specific person you'd like to ask of the two, then you also need to mention their name and they would respond to you right away. Unfortunately, I will not make my presentation on scams because I think their presentations covered like the channels that you need to take to get admission or scholarship. So I don't need to even repeat that because if you follow what they've told you, I guess you're not going to be scammed. So let's go to questions right away. The very first one is from Jacob. Jacob, you can unmute and speak. I think he's gone. Let me see another hand. Prudence. Okay, ladies first. Prudence, you can unmute and ask.
Yes, Joel, thank you. And I think my question goes to Richard. I would like to inquire something in the quick one. In case I am interested in applying for a PhD, do I have to have published my master's thesis? Or even without publishing, I can still apply?
Hi, Joel. Hello. Can I respond?
I guess so.
I don't know if you could just come
you're,
again.
You're talking about yeah.
Could you come again, please, if you don't mind? Because
Yes,
I think
I was asking. I actually addressed my question to Richard. It was just a quick inquiry to whether if I'm interested in applying for a PhD, if I have to have published my master's dissertation, or if I can apply even without have published.
Richard, if you're there, you can respond to that.
You don't need. It depending on the university, but you don't need. Yeah, Kansime. Yeah, I'm saying some universities they don't require as long as you graduated with your master's, it is okay. It's okay. I'm very sure about it. Some universities they will ask for some publications. However, if you have not published, they will ask for some writing sample. This is that during the application process, they may ask you a writing sample. So be free and forward your thesis report, your master's report. It is okay. Am I clear? Can
Yeah.
see me?
Okay, I think that was clear.
Okay, Joel, go on.
Maybe our colleague, if she has something to add to your submission, she can also add. But yeah, I think if the goal is to get a
My hand is up, sorry.
Okay, we're going to come to you, Ivan, but I was just going to add to Prudence that if the goal is to get a PhD, because PhD is about research, then you want to start preparing now. Even at masters, you can already start publishing. You need to make sure that you publish. And one thing which I also find very very useful is starting your own blog where you publish your own articles, and if someone is asking for your samples, you can just send links right? Like you don't have to send files, you can just send links. There are places like on WordPress, you can create a free blog where you can put all of your articles in one place. You can also have one on Mozilla, mozilla.com. Even wix.com can also give you a place to publish. We are going to take one other question, but there is someone here in the house who has been really raising a hand. Unfortunately, you guys can't see. So let me welcome him to just talk from this computer right away. But he's going to mention his name first, and then you'll ask.
Okay, good afternoon to you. Sorry I joined lately, but my question is right away. Like, how do you differentiate between okay, an application like when you're applying for scholarship? How do you differentiate like the one which is scamming from the one which is not scamming? Because it's a very critical thing, and it discourages many people from going ahead to apply. Thank you.
So I don't think that was directed to any specific person. Richard, you can respond to that, and also our colleague can also respond. So how do you
Alright,
tell
so
apart scams from like
to avoid
authentic?
scamming, what I can
Go
yeah,
ahead.
basically when you are communicating with the school, always like yes, Joel. For instance, when you are communicating, will always use the university. Good for when before you apply, good you need to search from the university, and you apply direct through the university. I forgot to tell you about that. Some people keep sharing scholarship with, and some links which are unrecognizable. Some links you have a link must end with a university website, like www.this, like with a university, not a link AI that something. No. So at the end of the day, you need, and those university websites that are always locked, protected. When you open the website on the search engine, you will find that it has a lock. Joel, maybe I don't know how you can give more light on that, but it will be always show it's the link, the website is safe, so you can go ahead to apply. But the most important thing is that you have to apply from the main university, from the main university website, or if you are applying through the third party, as the system already, my colleague has already discussed about it. If you are applying through the agency, but if not through the agency, please just always apply from the main university website.
Yeah, and
Joel, go on.
yeah, and I'm going to add just one thing. Normally, we receive links on our WhatsApp. Uh, there is so much going on the internet. Some people will create a website and they want traffic to the website. So they are just basically looking for people who can click the link so that they get paid for people visiting the website, right? So that's one thing. Like Richard has said, you need to go to the authentic places, and he has listed a few of those places. But I'm also going to work with him and my other sister, and we're going to compile a list of authentic places where you can go and their links. Those are just the places that you can go to and nowhere else. And what he's also saying is that whatever links that you click has to take you to a university website. A link that takes you to somewhere else is probably a scam. So you shouldn't. Some are very simple. Like the link takes you somewhere and then it says like the application is only one page. Like basically your name, your country, your passport number. Do you want a scholarship? Yes or no, and then submit. So that is definitely a scam. This is not something you can complete overnight. If someone has lied to you that they have applied for a scholarship in just one night, then that's a big lie. This is something that you need to really give it your time. Okay. So thank you for asking. Any other questions? We have so many. Let me take. There is someone who, Ivan. I think Ivan has been really wanting to ask. Ivan, you can unmute and ask. If you have a specific person you want to ask from the team, then you can also mention their names straight away. Ivan,
Can I also add before Ivan talks?
please. Yes, come in. Sure.
Okay, so regarding how you could identify if a school is legit or not, or if it's a scam or not, usually when you contact the the school's admissions officers or the admissions team in general, usually how they would communicate with you via email, and the email addresses should state that this person is working for this specific school. So let's say you're applying for Stanford University and you be helped by Camila. It should say camila@stanford.com. It shouldn't be saying camila@gmail.com. That is also how you could spot if the school is legit or not.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Then Ivan to Musime, please ask. I'm also going to go to the chat and read and convey. So Ivan, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for allowing me to ask my question. One has been taken. I was to ask about scam, how to avoid them. My other question is all about the GRE. Like the last presenter, he talked about how he can liaise with his former university to get it, okay, to ease for him on how to be secured about that. So I don't know whether all universities do that. How can I really go about it? Because I think from where I started from, I've never heard of it. And I had friends who were securing scholarships, and that was an option which was a problem to them. So they asked them about GRE. I had them, and they were caught up by time, so they had to try always how to get it, and I really don't know how they ended up with that because it was so crucial. Then another question, it was all about the academy of Madame from Lesotho talked about. I never heard the name of academy very well. She can kindly repeat for me so that maybe I may get to know about it. Lastly, since you, our mentors, you've organized for us this session, I think this is just an eye-opener for us, or else you can try to link us or to keep us connected with you so that we can benefit. Because I personally am finalizing my master's. Was given a scholarship on a national level, so I'm finalizing my master's, but I would wish to do my PhD abroad. So we are one of the guys who are really passionate about education career, and we would wish to take on forth such opportunities with your help. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess Richard, you can talk about GRE, but I just shared my GRE report card. It's there on the screen. I failed, so I'm not afraid of sharing this. So the GRE is actually required for most universities in the US, and it has three sections. There is verbal reasoning, and there is quantitative reasoning, and there is analytical writing. The analytical writing is out of 6. As you can see, I got 4 out of 6. At least that's the only section which I passed. Then the one in the middle, the quantitative reasoning. So it's on the scale of 130 to 170. I'm just at 140. We are almost at the tail. And also here, 130 to 170, I'm at 139 also, again, somewhere at the tail. But like, never mind about this. There are thousands of people here in this percentile, okay? And this is a global kind of, they measured globally, like how many students have done GRE that year. So you're not just assessed as you're assessed based on how many like the brightest people, they'll always be somewhere there on the head, maybe between 160 to 170. Those are like the brightest guys. But regardless, I passed my analytical writing. I'm at least somewhere. But this is the GRE. Maybe you can talk about it, Richard. But I know it's required for graduate entry in the US mostly, and also maybe I don't know if Canadian universities also require them. Then my sister is going to come in to talk about our experience working with students whose admission requirements also touch GRE and TOEFL. I don't know what GRE is, but I think it is graduate registration examination or something like that. Is required by the U.S. Education Department. Then there is also the TOEFL, which is TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language. It is also required for people who are applying from non-English speaking countries. Like Richard has said before, you can actually apply to waive your TOEFL if you know you can confidently do research in English. Basically the four skills: the listening, reading, writing, and speaking. If you can speak to that, then I guess they can waive it. But for the GRE, honestly, I have no idea. But you'll have to do this. And I remember I paid around $230 here in Uganda. And if you want to do it here, there is Makerere University Business School annex in Bugolobi. So I think that's the only GRE center in Uganda. Then also that same agency does TOEFL, and TOEFL is also about $200. So if you can waive it, the better. But if you can't, then there is no way. Like you'd have to pay for it. Maybe I'll get to the two experts to just come in quickly to talk about GRE and also the other parts of the question which was raised. Yes, info.
Oh, okay. So let me start with the question regarding to the GRE test. So majority of students, especially if you are going to apply for a master's program or a PhD program, most schools would require that you submit a GRE score. And basically GRE is different in a sense that if you, let's say you're applying for engineering courses, they would require you to take GRE and sometimes subject-based GRE. For example, you might be required to just take the math part of GRE and not take English and math, because basically GRE it's basically English and math, but in some cases it's subject-based, which means that sometimes you'd be asked to just take the maybe biology-based GRE or math-based GRE, depending on the course that you'd be applying for. And I just wanted to highlight, Joel, that looking at your scores, you didn't fail this GRE test. It's just that maybe you didn't get the minimum score required for the school that you were applying for. So in most schools, you could use this score to get accepted into, but like I'm saying, this also aligns with the school that you'd be applying for. So if you're applying for schools that are categorized as, let's say, Ivy League schools, they usually require a higher GRE score. That is why you would say you had failed. But majority of the time, you'd find that there are schools that accept low score GREs, and you would be able to still secure full scholarship with such schools. So that is the information I may be able to help you guys with regarding GRE. So it's not like a compulsory requirement for everyone who's applying. It usually differs with schools and the course that you are applying for. For example, people who are doing like social sciences or like commercial courses, sometimes they're not required to take the GRE. They would be only required to take the TOEFL test or IELTS test. And additionally, if somebody is coming from a country where English is a official language, like in our case, for students who come from Lesotho, because we use English as a official language, they're usually waived off of the TOEFL or IELTS requirement. And obviously you have to prove that you've been taught in English from primary through high school, or from primary through university or college. And the same thing for GRE. There are certain cases where you could be waived off of the GRE requirement. And answering to the last part of the question was to state the agency that I created here in Lesotho. It's called Abroad Studies Academy.
Yes. So I'm going to actually, I shared the link for Abroad Studies Academy before, but again, I'm going to send a follow-up email to all of you. There are 100 plus people who are here in this call right now. You need to check Abroad Studies, because they have a lot of questions that they've answered on their YouTube page, but also on their website and also on their social media, which shouldn't really bother you. Then talking about GRE is valid for 5 years. Once you do it, like this one, I did it in 2019 on November 30th, so it's still valid. But TOEFL is only valid for 2 years. So I did it in 2019, actually the day after my GRE. I did it on, I think, on 1st December. So it expired last year, 1st December last year. So this year I did TOEFL again, and each time you do, you have to pay for it. So it also makes sense that you do your preparations very well, so that you go and just do it once. You don't have to be repeating this. I was busy with work and stuff, so I didn't really have the time to study that much. Yeah, let me take another question. We are also seeing so many questions in the chat. We are also trying to respond to them in the chat. So if you know you've written in the chat, be sure to get your responses also in the chat. Let me get another hand from Paul Odong Okello.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to put up my question. Actually, mine is basing on the those who will apply, like for bachelors. Lymphos talk about those who have low grades. Now, if they have low grade, you say that they look at what you have done out of class. I just want to know how they look at those things. That is my question.
So, Thimpo, you can go ahead and respond. Hello, Thimpo?
Sorry, I was just I was answering to another question in the chat. Sorry to take a bit long. Okay, so for students who have low grades and still wishing to apply to schools abroad, how the schools determine your eligibility into the school is by looking at your, let's say you also be required to take the standardized tests, the GRE, or maybe the SAT, because for bachelor's degree they require SAT instead of GRE. So let's say they would require you to take the SAT test and the TOEFL test or IELTS, whichever you're comfortable taking. And recently they've also added on the Duolingo test, which in my case is the best test compared to TOEFL and IELTS, because you can take it at the comfort of your home. As long as you have a computer and a strong internet connection, you'll be able to take the test. And they don't have like set dates when you can register for the test and be able to take it. So they will also look into the scores that you have scored on your Duolingo test or TOEFL test or your SAT test. And also they will look into your resume. Let's say you are supposed to also submit a resume showing where you've worked, showing your professional experience as well as your academic experience. Then that is also going to strengthen your application. And I also mentioned that you have the opportunity to request an interview with the school. That way, they'll get a clear picture of what kind of student you are and the additions or the things that you're going to be adding to the school, which they don't already have, because usually schools are looking for diversity in their communities. And let's say they've never had students from Uganda before attending in that school, and while looking into your student file, they realize that maybe your GPA is below the minimum requirement. But looking at the holistic application file, they realize that you're actually the student who would best fit in their community. So they're going to have to look at your application using that criterion that I mentioned, that they don't just necessarily focus on your academics, but they look at the holistic thing, meaning that they also look into some of the things that you may have done. For example, let's say you're somebody like Joe and you have conducted a session like this one. You can use this information to strengthen your application and mention that, look, in my country, I was able to gather certain number of youth, and we did some information session regarding scholarships, and which means that you have given impact in some other people's lives, and usually that also strengthens application file. I hope I answered your question right.
Okay, thank you. I think that went straight. There are so many questions. There are so many hands up. Let me get Collins.
Well, thanks a lot for having this presentation. I'm so very lucky that I'm receiving quite quality information from qualified people. I'm so glad for Dr. Richard and our madam from Lesotho and the organizer. Currently, I'm also in China pursuing my master's degree, but I'd love to pursue another PhD or master's somewhere else in Europe or US. But then I highlighted something in the text, and the madam, her name is hard to pronounce, from Lesotho. And then the other question is, do you people have any idea about how you can help people who don't have experience in writing letter of motivation or statement of purpose? So because most of the universities need that, and it's one of the basic requirements for someone to be enrolled for either PhD or master's. And then please, you can also share some of your, I don't know, official handles or social media networks that we can follow up and link up so that we can keep on asking questions. Because we have many, many questions, but we cannot highlight all of them here. So, Mbayo, you're from my homeland. Sigiria, you know. Thank you.
Yes, Lempo, you can go ahead.
Okay.
But one thing for sure is our email is kectil.uganda@gmail.com. We're going to create a WhatsApp group, and we're going to share all of these materials with you. But I want to share the YouTube channel for Limpo, where she does all of our consulting. Unfortunately, she may not be able to do some of the things for free for you. I'm not sure, but like writing for you a statement. But I'm sure there are like materials that you can engage with, like the YouTube videos that she has made to help you get the idea of doing it. That's what I wanted to say. But maybe she is welcome to talk more about this. And if we can support her, you know, why not? Let's let's support the sisters' hustle. First, we need to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm going to share the link again, and also, if she allows, I'm going to share WhatsApp with you. Yes. I think she's either muted or something. But yes, Collins, you said you were considering doing a second master's. That's absolutely fine. I'm also doing a second master's soon before enrolling in a PhD. Because I guess it makes sense if you're not very confident about your research, you know, because PhD is all about research. And if you want to consolidate, like to have a concrete research background, then you want to start at master's or even at undergrad. So it depends. But for me, I have another strategy because I want to do my PhD in that same university. So I thought it makes sense to first go there as a master's student, then make friends with professors, and then those same ones can just recommend me for a PhD. Depends on your strategy. Yes. Let me see. There is a Relebohile. I'm sorry if I have not pronounced your name well, but just unmute and ask. And I will
Thank you so
also,
much.
yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. You've pronounced my name very well. So my question is directed to Dimpo. So I would like to know, as a student in Lesotho, what would you say is the best time to apply for a scholarship or admissions if you want to study a master's degree? That's my question, and thank you so much for the wonderful presentation.
Yes, Dimpo, that was directed to you. Please come in and respond.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Okay, so the best time to apply for admission, either you are a bachelor's degree student or master's or PhD, is usually around August of each year. So that is if you are planning to go to school the following year, fall, and which is usually around August the following year or around January of the following year. So usually they have like different terms or different intake terms. So for January through April, it's called spring intake, and from August through September in some schools it's termed as fall term. So the best time to apply, it's usually around this month of August, because that is when majority of schools open for their admissions and also open for their scholarship opportunities.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess that was clear. Let me take Lawrence Okumo. As we wait for Lawrence, if anyone,
Hello, good afternoon.
go ahead,
Hello.
Lawrence.
Yeah, for me, I'm only requesting for the recordings if there is maybe a website you can get it from, or YouTube, because I came late. I wanted to follow from the beginning. Is it possible?
Great. Yeah, let me just respond right away. We've recorded this and we are going to share it. It's going to be on our YouTube channels as well. We will let you know. But in case you don't get it, our email is kectil.uganda@gmail.com. So just write to us and we'll get it to you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'll put the email address also in the chat. If you'd like to get in touch with Jimpo for business, also you can write to us, or you can just go and contact her directly on our online accounts. Like she has a YouTube, she has social media. So yeah. Any other questions? I see. Okay, let me see. Hands. Okay, there is someone called guest, like they didn't write their name, guest, and then emojis. So you can unmute guest emoji. You can unmute and ask. Sorry, you did not indicate your name at the time of joining. So that's why guest. Yeah, so I was going to share with you my TOEFL, but I wrote some things in the chat. TOEFL is Test of English as a Foreign Language, and IELTS is International English Language Testing System. IELTS is mostly for UK English accent, and TOEFL is for the American one. So you need to check yourself, like which accent you'd like to do, and but both of them are accepted in any country. But they're also like Dimpo has said, there are some other tests like recent ones, which you can also take, and they're also recognized. But you also want to check with the university where you are applying so that you get the right test. Simon, I can't pronounce your surname properly, and I don't want to make a mistake. Simon, kindly unmute and ask.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this lecture. My question is, I've often been applying for these scholarships and they ask for passport ID number. Is it mandatory to get a passport first? Because I've been always asked for passport ID number. Then question two, what are the key things to include in the motivational letter? Because we all know how to write motivations, but then which key things should I include to be on a safe side or to secure a scholarship? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll respond to the first one and leave the part of the motivational letter to our two guests. So you do not need to have a passport beforehand. But however, I also think that if you're ready to really go and study abroad, then you want to make sure that you have all of your travel documents or anything that you'd need, like to leave the country, to just be ready, you know. So, and I guess if you have all of this ready, you're also going to get the motivation to you know to really apply and also use your documents. I can tell you my story. I got my passport when I was still at the university and I wasn't working. And this was savings, I think, for 2 years. You can imagine about $50, but I had to save it like for 2 years because I wanted a passport. And as soon as I got my passport, I also got, the motivation to use it. And that's how I started applying and applying and applying. So, while your national ID can also work, like in lieu of passport, I would actually recommend that you will not travel with your national ID, but you'll use your passport. So get any documents as soon as possible, but that shouldn't stop you from applying. However, if you're really serious about leaving the country, then you just want to get your documents ready. Yes. Then the rest of the questions, I think the motivational statement, I would like to invite Richard and Dimpo just to quickly highlight like the key things that someone has to include in their motivational statement. But again, I'm sure all of these are on Dimpo's YouTube. Yes, and she's just put the links in the chat. So, Jimpo, do you want to come in and assist, or do you think the links are sufficient? Yeah, I think Simon, I think it's also best you can start by even just doing random googling of what should be in a motivational statement. I guess that's where you could even start, and then you can go and watch some of these videos on Abroad Studies Academy. And yeah, yes, Timpo.
Yes, so I think the links will be sufficient, but I can just point out a few things that would still be beneficial. So the first thing that you want to include on your statement of purpose or on your personal statement is to highlight your current and future plans. So you want to show why you want to be studying in that school, and you want to show what you will be doing after graduating from that school. So also trying to make sure that your SOP is not really long and it's really straight to the point, so that all the information that is needed is within that specified length. Because for majority of schools, they would give you a number of characters or number of words that needs to be on your SOP or personal statement. So you also need to be specific with the course that you want to do and why you want to do that course. And you also need to be specific as to why you chose that school. So this means that you need to have done a thorough research about the school that you want to apply to and find some of the things that stand out for you in that school that made you want to be applying to that school in the first place. So those are some of the things that you want to include on your personal statement. And also, you maybe want to highlight some of the things that are not included in the application form, but you feel are important to share with the school. Maybe some of the things are things that you did as volunteer work, and there was no way you could include that in your application form. So you could also add that in your personal statement or in your SOP. And also maybe you want to explain, let's say you didn't get, you feel like your GPA is a bit low or it's below the minimum required for that school. You maybe want to explain why you attained such grades in your, let's say, in your first year, in your first degree or from your high school. But you don't want to sound defensive as to why you think you did get that, but you need to share that as a story, so that me as an admissions officer going through your essay, going through your SOP, I can get from the information you share that the reason this person didn't maybe perform well in their high school is because they did 1, 2, 3. And that also is very essential in his application form or in his application in general. So those are some of the things that you want to include in your SOP, and very, very articulate. Be very articulate in your SOP, so that you don't consume a lot of space just going about and not being direct to the point that you need to cut across. I hope this is helpful.
Sure, this is definitely helpful. Let me see. I guess I don't see any other hands up. I think if not, we will just close. I will say thank you so much, Tim, Richard, and Dim4. I'll give you 1 minute each to just close it up and just encourage these young people. This is part of the community work that you're already doing. You're inspiring young people. So I'll give you a minute each to just say something, and then I'll close it. Thank you. So I'll begin with Dim4 because ladies first. Yeah.
Okay, so once again, I just wanted to thank you, Joel, for giving me this platform to share my experience and knowledge with everyone who attended today's event. And I just want to also highlight that in as much as I have a company that is helping students apply to schools abroad, I really value someone who's applying on their own, because for the most part, schools in the US or schools abroad in general, they value students who apply on their own without the help of agencies. Why? Because sometimes they understand that some agencies don't have a clue as to what needs to happen. And sometimes they would be taking your money and not offering you what is needed in terms of the application process. So my personal advice is that take the information that we shared in here and make sure that you implement and apply on your own. Otherwise, apply through the help of an agency that you know has social proof, or you know that they have taken students abroad before, and you know that their application procedures are successful with the school, with the students that they've worked with. And that is one way that you would also be able to save up your money and being guaranteed that the application procedures that you'll be taking will give you the results that you want. Because you don't want you spending a lot of time applying to schools and spending a lot of money on the tests that are required, and then at the end not getting into the schools or being rejected, or maybe being accepted but without the funding that you need. So that is my one advice that I want to give. The second thing that I want you to share with you is invest your time with doing your own research with the schools that you want to apply to, doing your own research with the sites that my colleagues have shared here, that you could go to those sites and be able to secure weekly emails sharing the scholarships that you could potentially apply for. So I think that is all that I can share with. And also you guys can just visit my YouTube channel where I share this information on a weekly basis regarding different schools that have different scholarship offers for international students. And also the information I share, it's based off of my experience working with students. And also information that I share based off the schools that reach out to me and the schools that I've worked with before. And they would usually say, we have this opportunity for students abroad, share this information with them so that we could maybe enroll 4 or 5 students. So you want to visit my YouTube channel. It's Abroad Studies Academy. I also shared the links in the chat box. And also I'm available on Instagram. Mostly on Instagram, I have an assistant who would be answering to the questions that you have, or via our Facebook page. It's also run by our assistant. And I'm also available on LinkedIn because I really believe in the power of LinkedIn, because it's also a good platform that links you with the admissions officers in the schools that you maybe be targeting. So that's my take, Joe. And once again, thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you so much for accepting our invite. And it also came last minute, but you still said, let me do it for the young people of not only Uganda, but Africa as a whole. I really appreciate this, and keep up the good work. The least we can do for you is to subscribe to your YouTube channel and watch your videos and share your content with others and give you business. Yeah. I guess I've already just subscribed, and I hope everyone who is here is going to do the same, because these sessions would cost, lots of money for you to attend, but you've received it free of charge, and she's also offered it free. So we really need to be appreciative. Thank you, Dimfo, and I look forward to even more engagements with you, and hopefully we will have another session together, maybe a pro bono or something. Yes. Let me turn to my brother, Richard, whose time is actually going late now. Should be almost bedtime his time. So he still made it here, and he's given us his time. So Richard, maybe just in a minute, tell us some encouraging words for the youth.
Joel, for giving me an opportunity and with the organization for organizing such kind of event for our young people. Yeah, for my concern, I'll just tell them like, yeah, reduce time for Facebook and create more time for Google to look for those schools. It's very, very important. It will help you, and it's possible. These scholarships are out there, and you are one of them who are ready to grab them. So create time for it, and you'll find one good scholarship for yourself. Besides that, yeah, keep consulting with people you think they can add value to your life. Any issues concerning, it's all about not giving up. That's what I can tell you. Every day, out of 10 schools, you may get 2 positive feedback, always out. I told you at the beginning that I started my struggle in 2017, then I got scholarships in 2019. So for my master's after 2 years, it is really possible. But right now, after my master's last year, this year I'm admitted for PhD. So it's all about time. Create time for yourself. So more so, I talked about what I can remind you. My brothers asked about personal statement or letter of motivation. Basically, that's how you highlight. It's more of like brief description of your CV, but more detail. You talk about what you plan to do, what you have already done in the society, and how will this program you're applying for help you to achieve those goals. And to be specific, that motivation letter should be between 500 to 1,000. That's mostly two pages. Some universities you can't exceed 2 pages. So depending on the program. For others, they need only 500 words. So it depending on the program. So you keep editing it to your interest. So you will be. I can end on that for today. We shall keep discussing more and more about this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Richard. And back to you, the audience. I guess we've come to the end. We have gone by 1 hour actually into your time, but I guess this is going to pay off in the future, because I know all of us who made the time to come to this event were serious people who actually wanted to take something out of it. So, and I hope just the 1 hour is not going to make a huge loss on your end. I appreciate all of your efforts, and I wish you all the best with your endeavors. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. You can email us at kectil.uganda@gmail.com. That's our email. But most of the info, I guess, you'll be able to get it on the Studies Abroad Academy. But in case you have to get to us, please just email us, and that will be faster. We're going to share this recording with you if you have your email address with us. In case you don't, please email us at kectil.uganda@gmail.com and request for a copy of the recording. Thank you so much, and I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening. Bye-bye from me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.